Happy Wednesday, scholars, and welcome to your lesson for today. We are going to be continuing to work on fractions. Today, we're going to be using our knowledge of fractions to not only identify the shaded parts of some super cool flags from various countries, but also to solve some story problems. Before we get started, I did want to review the parts of a fraction. Some of us on our independent practice are still confusing the parts of a fraction. And it's really, really important that we know where to look for certain information because once the fractions get spicier or the story problems get spicier, it's just really important that we understand where to be looking for the information that we need. So again, we're going to use this fraction here as our example. We know that this number on top, this digit on top, is the part that gives us information about how many pieces we have. So for example, if a question is asking us like, oh, what is the fractional amount of the shaded part, or what fractional amount of the rectangle is red, or something like that, or how much does each person get, we know that that quantity is going to be right here. This is the part of our fraction. The digit on top tells us how much we have, how much of the whole that we have, or how many pieces of the whole that we have. We know that this is called, drum roll please. Whoa, doesn't want to work. The numerator. So we know that the song from yesterday also called the numerator the part. The part. The part. So that talks about the pieces or the part of the whole. Now we know this digit on the bottom, it tells us a lot of really important information. This digit on the bottom can tell us how many equal pieces make up one whole. So how many pieces the whole object has been broken up into, how many whole pieces you've split the cake into, how many whole pieces make up a set, all of that great information. Additionally, it also helps us know the name of each piece. We know when we made our resource yesterday, if you didn't watch the video from yesterday and you didn't make this, I would really pause this video and go back to the assignment from Tuesday because this is going to be super duper useful. But we know when we made our resource from yesterday, we knew that the names were dependent on how many pieces made up a whole. For example, a fractional amount is only a sixth if 6 equal pieces make up a whole. A fractional amount is a piece is only called a fifth if 5 equal pieces make up the whole, and so on and so forth. We know the name that mathematicians give this digit on the bottom is the, drumroll please, denominator. The song from yesterday also called this the whole. Yes, the whole. Not the hole you fall into, but the whole of an entire object. So if I were to go ahead and model this, for example, let me move my video. We'll sticker over here. We know that we can use this math code to help us draw or model our fraction. So if I was going to model this fraction of this rectangle, maybe I made a really long pan of brownies and I want to model what 1/6 of the brownies would look like. I know that this bottom digit tells me that there need to be 6 equal pieces on, or I need to split my whole brownie pan into 6 equal pieces. The way that I'm going to do that is first what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to split it into 3 pieces like this. And then I'm going to split each of those 3 pieces in halves. Not totally perfect because it's kind of hard for me to do. So I've split it into 6 equal pieces. Now I need to show what 1/6 of my pan of brownies looks like. So I've split it into sixths. There are 6 equal pieces in my whole, but now I need to show what 1/6 would look like. So I'm going to shade in one of my pieces. Maybe I shade in this guy. And now I can say that 1/6 of my brownie pan is shaded. Or in this case, if I was splitting this, I would have 1/6 of the brownie pan. I'm really going to force you guys to define the whole today by putting in of the whatever that whole is. So we're going to review that a little bit in the next slide. Also, I changed up my mouse. That's why it's a little cat's paw. I thought it was really fun. Okay, so I told you we were going to be reviewing some fractions with flags today. I thought it was super cool. We could throw a little history lesson in. I have some flags from various countries to, up here. So we have this flag is from Poland. We have this flag is from Germany. Both of those are countries in Europe. We have this flag from Mauritius, which is actually a small island nation off the coast of, it's between like Africa and India. So it's in the Indian Ocean. It's in like the Pacific area. And then we have the flag from Peru, which is in South America. It's actually where my best friend lived for 2 years. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at these flags. I'm going to model what this is going to look like for the first one. So we're going to do it all together. Then you're going to complete the next 4 questions because there's 2 for the Mauritius. And you're going to put that into your form. Let me go ahead and show you where we're going to be putting this information. Alrighty, my friends. So I have over here my scrap paper. It already has the date written on top, so you should make sure that you have the date written on top. Let's rock and roll. So what we're going to do for the first one, for the Polish flag, you'll notice that we have flags from various countries. For the Polish flag, I am going to model. So we're going to play, get ready, say, ooh, spooky. Ooh, spooky, yeah. We're going to play zombie hand. So I am your brain. You are all my little zombies. What I write, you need to write. So the question here asks me, what fraction of Poland's flag is white? So I know I need to figure out how many pieces or how many equal parts are in Poland's flag and how many of those equal shares, equal pieces are white. So the first thing I'm going to do is determine how many equal pieces are white, or excuse me, are in the flag. So I see that there is 1 piece here, 2 pieces. So I know in my denominator and my denominator, I need to put a 2. There are 2 equal pieces in the whole flag. So I know in this case that the flag is split in halves. Halves. So now that I know my denominator, I need to figure out what my numerator is. I know the numerator is the part that we care about, the part we have, in this case, the part that is white. So I think, okay, how many equal pieces here are white? I see 1 equal piece is white, so I'm going to write 1 in my numerator. Now I know I read this fraction as 1/2. Your turn. Your turn. My turn. 1/2. So to practice writing it, because it's super important that we know how to say these out loud, or else how would you ever tell anyone your answer? And also to read them, because sometimes questions are really tricky and they'll put them in words. We're going to practice writing these in complete sentences. You're going to notice today I'm going to require you guys to tell me the whole for the story problem. So we want to get into practice with that. So I'm going to write in this case 1/2 of the flag is white. Of the flag tells me my whole is the whole flag. 1/2 tells me the fractional amount, the fraction that is white. So even if someone didn't know what the Polish flag looked like, they would know that 1/2 of it is white. Whatever the other half is another color. We know it's red because the picture's right here. All right, so what I would like you to do is I'm going to give you 2 minutes. 2 minutes to do this for the German flag, to do this for the flag from Mauritius, which as I told you already, is a really cool little Pacific island country, and the Peruvian flag, which is a country in South America. All right, so 2 minutes. You are going to do each of these steps for all of those problems. Please pay attention to the fact that number 3 has 2 parts. So for the Mauritian flag, I want to know what fractional amount is green and then what fractional amount is not green. A little tricky, but I know you guys are going to rock it. So as a reminder, you need to have the fraction for each of these, and you also need to have the sentence. So I'm going to go ahead and set up the paper with you. We know that question 3 has part A, which is green, and then part B, which is how much is not green. And then there's question 4 for the Peruvian flag. So you need to write the fraction for each of these. And then also the sentence should go to the side right here for each of these problems. You'll notice that I have sentence starters for you here as well. So if you need some spelling help beyond the fraction names, they're right there. If you do need some spelling help for the fraction names, we made our handy dandy resource yesterday. So go ahead and grab that out so you can get some spelling help if you need it. All right, I'm going to give you 2 minutes I'll be nice, 2.5 minutes to do all of these problems. Ready? And go. You have about a minute left, so making sure that we are including, turn the music down a little bit for y'all. Make sure that we are including our sentence stems. Make sure that we are writing the fractions for all 3 of these flags. I'm not even done yet, so nobody should be done yet unless you're Barry the Flash Allen at writing. All right, that's our time. So let's rock and roll and see how we did. So you should have written that 1/3. Here, so you can actually see me. We should have written that 1/3 of the flag is yellow. If I look over here, if I look at my flag, I see that the German flag has 1, 2, 3 different equal pieces in the whole flag. I see that one piece of those 3 equal pieces is yellow. So I would write the 1 in my numerator because one piece of the 3 pieces is yellow. It needs 3 equal pieces in the whole flag. So 1/3 of the flag is yellow. You should have written this. Now let's look at this second question. So for the Mauritian flag, it looks like there are 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. There are 4 pieces in the whole flag. The flag has been split into 4 equal pieces. So that goes on our denominator. That goes on our, it goes in our denominator because that tells us how many pieces are in the whole. Now we see that one piece of the flag is green. So we know that 1/4 of the flag is green. Remember, of the flag is telling us what the whole is. The whole is the whole flag. Of the 4 pieces in the flag, 1/4, one of them is green. Now, this one was kind of a spicy question. The next one asked, okay, so what fraction of Mauritius's flag is not green? So I know we just talked about how the flag has 4 equal pieces. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, if 1/4 is green, and I look, the rest of the flag isn't green. So I see that each of these pieces are a fourth. So this would be 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. 3/4 of the flag is not green. It's another color. So making sure that we know that 3 of the 4 pieces are not green, we would write that as 3/4. Sorry, my thing seems to have lost focus again. Let me get that for you. I just had to stack my 3/4 on top of each other in order to fit it there. And then this last one, it says, what fraction of Peru's flag is red? So the first thing that we always do, we look at how many pieces in the whole. How many pieces in the? Yep, we're going to figure out that denominator. By looking at how many pieces are in the whole, I see 1, 2, 3 equal pieces in my whole. So I'm going to go ahead and write 3 in my denominator because I know I need 3 equal pieces to make up the whole flag. Now we need to know how much of the fraction is red. We need to know how much of the fraction is red. So you should have written a 2 in the numerator because there are 2 pieces of the Peruvian flag. There are 2 equal pieces that are red. They're not next to each other, doesn't matter. 2 of the 3 equal pieces are red. So we know that 2/3 of the whole flag is red. So you would write the number 2, and then you would write thirds. Again, if you need spelling help for this, you can either look at my video or, hello, there's a reason we made this, my friends. Alrighty, there is a spot for you to type this information into the form, so let's quick and fast go over where to do there. For your practice today, if you scroll down, remember that you can always click the YouTube button here to make the video get bigger, and then you can also have it in a separate tab. So, or you can also use the fact that you wrote on your scratch paper. So it says, what fraction of Poland's flag is white? Write your answer in words. So we know, based on our answer, that 1/3, 1/2 of Poland's flag was white. I did that for you. So you would type in 1/2. You do have to type it in words because look what happens if I try to type it in numbers. I try to move on. This little message is like, uh-oh, check your spelling and watch the video for clues. I know good mathematicians are watching this video right now, so you guys will know to type in 1/2. So you guys should be typing in 1/2 over here. So you have to plug it in you have to plug in your answers that we just did in your form as well. Please pay attention to the fact that sometimes it asks you to do it in words. That's why I had you write it. And also sometimes it asks you to do it in numbers. So I'll do Germany's for it with you as well. What fraction of Germany's flag is yellow? We know that we did that. It was 1/3. So you would type it as a fraction. The numerator you type first, then you type the fraction bar, which is the little slash button next to shift in the bottom right corner of your keyboard. And then you type in the denominator. We'll quick and fast go over the other ones because, hello, we just did them. What fraction of Mauritius's flag is green? Write your answers in words. I know looking at my scratch paper, which I literally just looked right here, it is 1/4. Tells me to do it in words. I spelled fourth wrong because I'm a silly goose. A fraction is not green. We know that that is 3/4. Fraction number, I got tricked. So I would do 3/4, putting that on the end. What fraction of Peru's flag is red? Oh, this is being tricky. Making sure that we type it in correctly. 3/4. So make sure we type it in correctly. 3/4. It'll let us go on. A fraction of Peru's flag that is red. It asks us to write it in a fraction form. We know the answer is 2/3. 2 in my denominator, 2 in my numerator. Silly Miss Kavanaugh, and 3 in my denominator because 2/3 of this here flag is indeed red. All right. Wait for today's magic word. I'll reveal it later in the video. Let's rock and roll. So we're now going to use fractions to solve some story problems. The whole purpose of the practice with the flag was so that we got used to identifying fractions. Now we're going to use this to actually solve some really fun story problems. I'm really sorry if these story problems make you hungry, but when it comes to fractions, I find the best examples always involve food. When I was making this, I too got super, super hungry, so I'm really sorry if you get hungry while solving this. All right. Making it big for this one. So Mr. Cody's cake is the title of this story problem. So I'm going to read it to you twice, and then I want you to try to solve it by yourself. So Mr. Cody is baking a cake for his mom's birthday. Her birthday's coming up and he decides to bake a really big cake. Now, Mr. Cody has a pretty big family, so there's going to be a total of 8 people sharing the cake. We want to know how much cake will each person get? Right, one more time. So Mr. Cody is baking a cake for his mom's birthday. There are going to be 8 people sharing this cake. So we would like to know, how much cake will each person get? I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to solve this problem. What I would like you to do, if you finish early, make sure that you look at these early finisher questions down here. But I want you to draw me a picture and then try to figure out what is the equation that matches the story. So, happy solving. Maybe some music to solve too. About 15 more seconds. How much cake will each person get? Alrighty, that is our time. So let's figure out, how much cake will each person get? Sorry, I had to change up my screen there so we could see everything. But let's figure out, how much cake will each person get from Mr. Cody's birthday cake extravaganza. So the first thing that I hope you did was, I hope you drew a picture. So the first thing I hope you did was you drew a cake. Maybe you drew a circular cake. I like to draw my cakes as rectangles. So I know if there are going to be a total of 8 people sharing this cake, I need to split this into 8 equal pieces. One, two, three, four. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 equal pieces in this case. We want to know, how much will each person get? That's a sort of tricky way of asking, how much is each of these pieces? So I know if there are 8 total pieces, that goes in my denominator. And I know that something with 8 total pieces in a whole, I can use my resource from yesterday to know that I call these eighths. I call these eighths. So I know each of these pieces is 1/8. This piece is 1/8, even that piece is 1/8. Each person will get 1/8 of the whole cake. So I'm going to write my answer as 1/8 of the cake. We can also practice writing it out as 1/8 of the cake. You'll see that when you come to the form, it asks you to make sure that we include the whole. Like I said before, I'm going to make you do that so that we're understanding these are fractional amounts of a whole, because watch what happens if I just type in the answer. It moves on. It's like, uh-oh, make sure you watch the video to include an important part of your answer. So we need to just say, of what? Of the cake. So each person gets 1/8 of the cake. Awesome. So for this one, let's rock and roll for question 7. If you were one of the, actually pause, if you were one of the friends who was an earlier finisher, this answer was 3/8. This answer was 5/8. All right, I titled this one Waffle Wars. So 4 friends want to share 14 waffles so that each child, each friend gets the same amount. How many waffles will each child get? 4 friends want to share 14 waffles so that each child gets the same amount. How many waffles will each child get? I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to try to solve this one on your own. I recommend you draw each of the 14 waffles, then think about how many of those waffles, how many whole waffles each kid will get, then maybe think how many pieces of a waffle each kid will get. So let's rock and roll. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to try to solve this one on your own before I show you the answer. Just like we did before, make sure that you write your answer in a complete sentence. Your 2 minutes will start now. All right, about 20 seconds left, so please make sure that you have written your answer in a complete sentence. All right, that's our question, or that's our time. Kind of a crazy timer there, I know. All right. So it's time for me to do this problem with you guys to review. If you are having a little bit of trouble, no big deal. You can go ahead and just under your scratch paper, do the steps I'm doing right now. I got my pen. All right, so this is the next question, 7, making sure I label it. So I know if I have 4 friends and I'm splitting 14 whole waffles, I know that when I skip count by 4s, I'd never hit 14. So I know I'm going to have to break some of these waffles up. But the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to think to myself, okay, so I have 14 waffles. It's my total. I am splitting them into, so I'm going to use my division sign. I am splitting them into 4 groups because I'm splitting them between 4 kids. I need to know how much each kid gets, how much goes in each group. So I'm going to put a W for waffles. All right. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw my 14 waffles. So maybe I go like this, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And I'm going to think to myself, okay, how many whole waffles will each person get? So the reason I actually drew it like in an array for my waffles was because then I can think about it like this. Okay, so if this is one kid, I noticed that the array is even up until here, right? Here is where only these 2 first columns get a waffle. So I know that if this is one kid, so like maybe this is Bobby, then this is another kid, maybe that's Eli, another kiddo, maybe that's Keelan, and another kiddo, maybe that's like Joshua. So right now, every kid has 3 waffles, 3 whole waffles, but I haven't used up all of my waffles yet. So somehow I have to take these 2 waffles and make equal amounts for 4 people. So what you could do is split each waffle into fourths, into, or think smarter, not harder. So I can look here and think, okay, I see 2 waffles, but I need enough for 4 people. I know 2 groups of 2 equals 4. So if I were to actually make it so that this waffle was split into halves and this waffle was split into halves, this half could go to this friend, this half could go to this friend, this half could go to that friend, and this half can go to that friend. Or if you're labeling your work like this, I'll do it in another color. Like if this is person 1, this is person 2, this is person 3, this is person 4. I know that this is person 1, person 2, person 3, person 4. You could also use letters. Don't draw pictures because it'll confuse yourself. But if you want to name them, like I did earlier, you can do that too. So I'm going to think to myself, okay, how much does each person get? So I know that they get 1, 2, 3 whole waffles. So 3 whole waffles. So I'm going to write 3 whole waffles, or you can just write 3 waffles. But then they also get this fractional amount. How much is that fractional amount? It's getting a little blurry on you. So I know that each person also gets 1/2 of a whole waffle. So they get 3 whole waffles and 1/2 of a waffle. You could also write this like 3 and 1/2 of a waffle. So something I've seen some other friends do is they'll be like, oh, 3, they have 3 pieces. So they want to put that in the denominator, or excuse me, the numerator, but that's not what the numerator means. Remember, the numerator is the part of a fraction. It's the fractional amount we have. In this case, we have 3 whole waffles. So it gets to be a big 3. It's 3 wholes. And then they each get half of 1 waffle. So it's 3 and 1/2 of a waffle. Or you can think about it as they get 3 whole waffles, 3 wholes, and 1/2 of a whole. Awesome possum. Alrighty, time for our word of the day. The word of the day is, drumroll please. The word of the day is numerator. Some of us were getting a little bit tricked on our guided practice or our independent practice yesterday, so we're going to review this with our word of the day. The word of the day is numerator. We know the numerator is the top part. Put your hands up. It is the top part of a fraction that tells us how many pieces of the whole we have. For example, looking at this fraction tells me that 1/5 of the whole circle is shaded. So it shows me that 1/5 of this whole circle is shaded. The digit on top is the numerator. It says 1 piece of the whole is shaded. Over here, our familiar example, again, we see that 1 piece of the 4 equal pieces that make up our whole is shaded, so the numerator is 1. I could change this. If I were to say, make this red so we can see. If this were to say 2/4, then I know that in this case, that represents the fact that 2/4, each of these pieces are a fourth, are shaded. So we know the numerator always tells us how many pieces of the whole we have, or in this case, how many are shaded. All right, on with the lesson. So tricky, make sure that we type in 3 and 1/2 of a waffle. If you don't type it in like that, it won't accept it. So if you try to write 3, 1, 3 and a half like that, it's going to be like, that's not even a half in cup. It's going to be like, uh-oh, make sure you watch the video because we need to include what the whole is. So I want you to type out 3 and 1/2 of of a waffle. Again, today we used our knowledge of fractions to solve some story problems. We had some story problems which were really just like some examples with some different flags from various countries. And then we also had a couple of actual story problems where we were using our knowledge of fractions to figure out how much of cake in Mr. Cody's story problem example or waffles in our kids example each person gets. So making sure that when we solve our independent practice, we are using our resources, whether that means using your fraction strips to help you with spelling help or to maybe figure out, okay, wait, what do I call that again? If it's asking me in words, using our fraction strips to help you be like, oh, if it has 4 equal pieces, I know these are fourths, so on and so forth. If you're still a little bit tricked, make sure you do go to office hours. All right, my friends, happy solving.